I'll give you two more phrases that are going to be officially banned. Number one is going to be exposed. Okay. Nobody's ever allowed to say exposed again, because when people say this in a way that makes it seem like it's finite, like there's no coming back from it. The Eagles have been exposed. What does that mean? Like their defense can never recover, they can never make another adjustment, they're not going to win another game for this. What the fuck does that mean when you say exposed, right? Number two, the next time I hear somebody generically use the word adjustments going into halftime, they get like a 24-hour mute, because it's such a dad thing. You know how we talk about like the dad who's like, well, you got to get 6 here, you know? Adjustments has become such a vapid, nothing term, because nobody ever talks about what they actually want them to do. Like, oh, Jonathan Gannon's got to make some adjustments.
All I know is I don't like what I'm seeing, so stop doing that and do something that's better.
And then if they play better in the second half, I still won't be able to tell you exactly what they did, but I can say generically that they made adjustments. That's why that just goes hand in hand, though, with like the very surface level nature of sports discourse. Because if you want to say, hey, you know, I didn't like how they divided up those zone and those man snaps, you know, or like this bear front with Marlon Tuipulotu filling in for Jordan Davis just isn't working. Like, I would like to see them go to press man and single high safety. Tell me that. Tell me what you want it to be. But these people who just go, well, dude, we're going to see if Gannon can make adjustments. What the hell are you talking about, man?
Well, here you go. Dad's really one of them to run the ball more in the second half. I mean, you look at the first half, Miles Sanders had 2 carries. Now, is that an adjustment? Do you say, like, hey, well, we obviously need to get the ball in his hands a little bit more? Like,
but they also had 14 points on 19 plays. So, like, hey, it's pretty efficient.
Yeah, but you know what? I think I segued that adjustments thing into like the general talk surrounding Jonathan Gannon, because of course WIP comes out with a poll, should they fire Jonathan Gannon? You know, blah blah blah. Everybody's talking about it, right? But I just wish people would put like some depth and some context into it. You know, when you talk about the run defense, I think I heard you actually talking about it, Peg, and it was the Shane's tweet. Okay, well, they did get gashed on the ground a little bit, but they only gave up 3.1 yards per carry. Really, it was the third downs that were killing them on those passing plays when they were moving the chains and chewing up clock. It wasn't even necessary that they ran for like 3.1 yards per carry. I said they ran the ball like 49 times, right? And the time of possession ended up being 40 minutes, right? So that the defense was tired. The guys on the back end couldn't make a play. When people talk about Jonathan Gannon, I just want them to like broach surface level. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, this is it here, right? So they allowed passing conversions on 5 of 6 third downs in the first half. They also allowed a bunch of first down rushing too, but 3rd and 2, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5. They got 9 yards on a 3rd and 10 passing play. Set up a 4th and 1. I think Curtis Samuel had like an end around or like a quick pitch, whatever they call that thing that they used to.
And that's not even adding the one that Taylor Heineke fucked up the clock and they got a delayed game.
Yeah. So I just want people to say, like, hey, well, okay, you don't like Jonathan Gannon, but please frame it in the understanding of, like, his scheme is built to prevent big explosive plays, right? They're the number 1 defense in the league at preventing explosive 20-yard plays down the field. Now that the other end of that is that, yeah, you're going to be a little more soft in the middle. So frame it that way. If you say that I don't like Jonathan Gannon, I want him fired, like, what do you want him to do schematically? Do you want him to walk another guy up to the box? They don't have Avonte Maddox. Do you want him to play 4-3 against these running teams? Do you want to go single high safety and do you want these guys to play press man on the outside? Like, they give me like specifics of, like, we can talk about his scheme and the design and the players that are missing, but when you only scratch the surface, nobody gets smarter.
You know what frustrates me though? Like, so I drive my daughter to my in-laws. They watch our child every day, and so it's 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. So I spend a lot of time in the car in the morning, and I flip back and forth between both morning shows. But today I always think that WIP is better for the, you know, moron fan calling in, ranting and raving type thing, which I can relate to as a moron fan that rants and raves occasionally. So, I mean, the one thing I'll say is I get why they do these polls. I understand the frustration. But I feel like that those polls do a disservice to real criticism, to like valid criticism. So when you say, should you fire Jonathan Gannon, like, that's absurd because they're 8-1. You look at the points per game that they've allowed, like you spoke about, obviously they limit big plays. The defense has done a pretty good job after week 1, you know, week 1 notwithstanding. So I don't know how you could in your right mind say, yeah, like, you should fire the defensive coordinator in the middle of November. That's a bullshit question, right? Like, if you honest to God believe that they should fire the defensive coordinator today, you're you're an idiot. Like you're an absolute idiot. That being said, they had 10 days to figure out, hey, you know what? We know Washington's probably going to be run heavy here. We know that we struggled against the run playing Houston, and I understand they have a good young back there. But like if you want to say like, hey, what the hell happened in the last 10 days? Like, why can't this team tackle? Like, why are you can limit big plays and still tackle? You know, and like we talk about the third down conversions, like yeah, a lot of that damage was done, you know, through the air on those conversions, but a lot of it was set up because it was third and manageable because you're getting blown off the fucking ball on first down, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it was 5 yards a shot, 6 yards a pop, especially early on. You know, they tightened up a little bit later, to their credit, but early in that game, there was just so much give to set up third and manageable for a mediocre passing offense.
Yeah.
And it was like they were caught off guard by that. You know, whether it was they weren't ready, they just weren't expecting to take that kind of punch from Washington. They were too confident after the first matchup with them back in week 3. But I do think you can be like critical of what played out from a defensive standpoint last night.
Yeah, I think the larger point here is that there's only so much like oxygen for sports opinions to begin with, or at least in the public forum, what gets proliferated out to the masses, you know, and I think in that finite amount of pie, because we're all distracted by the bullshit WIP morning show poll or whatever, like we're all laughing at the ridiculousness of this, but it takes away from the time that could be spent doing valid criticism, you know, which is why I was trying to tell people early in the year when Pagan and I were going positive and rational on the show. It's like, I'm not like saying it's all sunshine and rainbows and that the defense doesn't have to fix anything, that they don't have to get better, that they have to find a punt returner, you know, and things of that nature. But because it's so far out on one side of the spectrum, we never really get to like the center and like the valid stuff that's worth talking about, because we're wasting time, you know, on all this bullshit. And we can have a whole separate discussion, because people always say like, well, why do you give the WIP morning show time? And why do you talk about this idiot? Why do you talk about that? Like, this is what they want, right? Well, I'm not a believer that all publicity is good publicity. Like, I think if you're being an idiot and you're doing a disservice to fans and you publicize that, all it says is these guys are idiots and they're doing a disservice to fans, right? Like, I know that you can just ignore it and maybe it'll go away. We're talking WIP here. Like, WIP's not going to, like, go away. They're not going to stop doing dumb morning show polls just because we stop retweeting it or writing about it. Like, that is going to persist nonetheless, right? So I would argue like vehemently against that. I don't think anybody gets any kind of, this is what I always say to people, it's like, why do you put Stephen A. Smith like on Crossing Broad? Because that's exactly what he wants. I'm like, there's no currency from that. You don't get currency from attention. You don't cash in your attention for better ratings or for more money or whatever. If a million people are talking about you, but all of them are saying that you're an idiot, then you're an idiot. Right? It doesn't. There's nothing like what are you latching onto and translating that into?
Well, the only pushback I would give you there is that Skip Bayless has a platform. Does anybody watch Skip Bayless and say this is an informed, intelligent opinion that I respect?
No, but you have to be willing. My counter to the counter is that you have to be willing to be an idiot.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to accept the fact that people are going to think of you as a moron. Now, if you want to like live life as a moron and know that you're a joke and know that you're playing a persona, but you're a millionaire, then good for you, man. I mean, like, you know, a lot of people would take that, I'm sure. But I just push back against the people who are like, don't talk about this. This is exactly what they want. I don't think attention is currency, is what I'm saying. You know?
That's fair.